All right, what's going on, boys? We got a trade recap today for Monday, June 1st. Unfortunately, it is a losing trade this morning. Um, so, yeah, tried to go short here, ended up not playing out. We'll go over the bias, what I was looking for, why I ended up going short here, and why this was a good loss. So, I personally have nothing to regret about this trade. So let's get into it. Um, this is what we looked like coming into the market. We were running through all bullish imbalances, ran through this 4 hour, through this 1 hour gap here, and we were displacing and making our way down to this sell side liquidity, to which made sense because it would just be a further rebalance on the higher time frames. You can see ES as well was going to hunt that 4 hour sell side liquidity, in my opinion, the last low in the range. And so basically all I said was I was bearish to that sell side. Hopefully we can get a pullback and entry once the market opens, and that I wanted to see this 15-minute gap hold. We ended up opening up this 15-minute gap when the market opened, and I didn't even think we were going to get a trade here, because if there was an SMT at this low, I wasn't going to take a trade after that point in time, and it looked like ES is going to just go ahead and take it, but it ended up not, and we left the low. You can see here, we left the low open for the market open. So what I mean is, zooming out, it would make sense for a, sorry, I have all these drawings from last week still on here. And also, I'm going to leave that because there is still a new week opening gap from last week, which is crazy. We never tapped that last week. But it would make sense, looking at this chart, to get a deeper retrace coming to the 4 hour. We barely tapped this 4 hour gap. Yes, we did go higher, but we ended up running through, like I said, this bullish 4 hour gap. Where's the next draw on liquidity? It would tell me that it would be this low for me. So that's why I was short biased. And just looking at the 1 hour chart, I'm going to go full screen and Q because these were pretty much the same thing. We had an SMT at the highs, just added confluence for me. And you can think of this as your market maker sell model, this as the displacement leg down, confirming the move lower. Yeah, so pre-market, as soon as I logged on, we were making this original move down. This was the obvious low for me, and so I wanted to just see I wanted to see us hold bearish and continue lower off market open. We ended up opening up this 15-minute gap once the market opened. Zooming in even further, we came up, tapped into here. I was looking on the 1-minute chart at this point in time within this 15-minute gap, looking for any sort of displacement leg down. We don't get that. We eventually run up all the way to fully fill this gap. At the same time, ES was having a hard time even tapping this 15-minute gap here. And so that just gave me even more confidence in shorts, because like NQ is retracing, but ES is super bearish and it's having a hard time even getting up into this 15-minute gap. And you know, this could still play out here because ES is still holding the 15-minute gap. It was more bearish down into the range. But we don't know, like, I don't know when I'm entering this trade that we're going to stall out here. So I had every right to be bearish this morning. Very good draw on liquidity for me. I know we are at all-time highs, but like I said, it made sense to get a deeper retrace with the displacement that we were seeing pre-market as well. So we eventually, after a while, we eventually get bearish reactions down, and my entry was based off of this 1-minute candle here. We break structure on the 1-minute time frame. I don't know if there was a smaller time frame SMT or not. Doesn't really matter to me. No, there wasn't. And yes, we had this 5-minute gap here. We had this 5-minute bullish gap that I would ideally want to see us run through, which we eventually did. But because of the higher time frame context, we were still holding, like, we were holding a bearish higher time frame 15-minute gap. The draw on liquidity is bearish to me at this point. I don't really care about a smaller time frame bullish gap, because in all reality it shouldn't hold, and we should deliver to the draw on liquidity if my draw on liquidity is correct. So I entered on this 1 minute candle before we actually did inverse that 5 minute, and we edged my break even point, which sucks. And yeah, obviously we ended up reversing here, but like I said, I have nothing to regret about this trade. This was a textbook trade for me, and you're not always going to win. I think that's just the main takeaway from today's trading, is that just because everything that you want to see happens to show up in the charts, enough for you to slap on risk and take a trade with confidence, doesn't mean that the market owes you a take profit. It doesn't even owe you a break even point. It's unfortunate. It's not often you edge the break even point by 3 points. I was considering going break even early once we started to reverse here, but we had these 5 minute gaps, and it's like, okay, I had enough reasons to put the trade on. Let the trade play out, right? So it made sense to potentially come back up, tap this 5 minute before continuing lower. That's why I didn't go break even. And my rule of thumb is break even at the internal highs and lows. This was the internal low. So it's just unfortunate. Unfortunate. But it is what it is. And you cannot get attached to the outcome, right? As long as I did everything within my power, I stuck to my rules, the outcome shouldn't matter at all, because I know on a long enough time horizon, the probabilities, as long as I stick to my rules, are in my favor. So no, it's never fun to take a loss. Losing is never fun, but it's a part of trading. If you're not able to take a loss, you're not going to be able to find success in this business. This is not the business for you if you cannot take a loss. There's going to be times like today where everything seems to be aligned. Everything is perfect in terms of your entry. And it just doesn't play out. And that's, like I said, that's part of the game. Now, I will say, more times than not, I am at least getting break even on this trade. Like, it's unfortunate that we were 3 points away from the break even point. I would say 80 to 90% of the time we're going to at least come down and to the internal low here with this, in terms of this type of trade. I would say 80% of the time we're at least going to get break even here if I have a proper entry, proper trade management. I was even debating on potentially scaling in at some point around here. I ended up not, because I wanted that safe stop loss all the way above this high, knowing that it is a Monday. Yeah, we had news at 10 a.m., but like I said, the news isn't even what reversed us here. This was the news candle here. I thought the news candle would drive us through the break-even point and to the pre-existing draw on liquidity. After that happened, we just reversed, and low volume. We eventually got stopped out. And it took quite a while, which also sucks because I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, seeing this just slowly bleed against me. I was in this trade for an hour and a half almost. So in the middle of this trade, I had to literally just go outside and go for a walk, get off the computer, get away from just sitting here at my desk. And yeah, that's about all I got. And as long as you stay in the game, I will keep hammering this home. And if you're following along with all these videos, you're going to see this play out, okay? You're going to see this play out. I took a win to end the week last week. I took a loss to begin this week. As long as you stay in the game and don't blow up, I know with my probabilities, my statistics, that I'm going to have success. As long as I take my loss and I lock myself out, and that's that, and I journal, and I have a clear mindset when I'm reviewing this trade, and then move on to the next day. Like I said, there's nothing for me to regret about this trade here. It just happens. This is a statistical loss. I don't have many statistical losses, but when I do take a statistical loss, there's literally nothing to be upset about. The only time where it's hard to take a loss and where it's like a gut-wrenching loss is when I know that I broke my rules. And today, this is not one of those losses. So it just is what it is. So as long as you stay in the game, you take your loss, you move on, and because there's always going to be another day. There's always going to be another day. We got 4 more days this week. Not that I'm going to try to make this loss back, but the goal every week should just be to end the week in the green. And I know that I'm going to have a lot of green weeks as long as I stick to what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I'm going to do. And losses happen. Fortunately, it wasn't a full $500 loss, I guess you could say, just because of the way that how big the stop loss was. I wasn't able to risk that full $500 without over risking. So I was risking $427. That's where my stop loss was. So yeah, it's on to the next. Nothing we can do about it. We have NFP this week. A lot of high impact news. Should be good moving, good volume, good moving price action a couple days this week. And so just trying to be patient and capitalize on those opportunities that are destined to come at some point later in the week. So that's all I got. That's the loss this morning. And let me know if you took a trade or not. I know some people also took shorts here. And like I said, just unfortunate we couldn't hit that break-even point. But it happens. So that's the trade recap. That's the market recap, trade recap for me. Appreciate you watching, and I will see y'all tomorrow in tomorrow's market recap. If you want to support me, code FST on all your favorite prop firms will be in the description below, as long as the free Discord. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out, boys.